What's poppin', everybody? NFL opening night, and I have a special guest for everybody. We have my boy Johnny VTV. Him and I ran a podcast over on Breaking Bet. That's Johnny's podcast all last year, and now fortunate enough for Johnny to join us to kick off this NFL season with you guys. So we're using Pick the Odds today. Very excited to showcase the tool. We have a ton of boosts to utilize. We're going to be betting all that. And of course, we're going to be talking about tonight's game, getting bet slips, giving you overview, giving you guys picks and plays with Pick the Odds. But Johnny, thank you for joining, brother. How are you?
Dude, good to be back doing a podcast with you. It's been a minute. We're back in full swing. Every week last week, we were doing some NFL stuff, talking about all the lines and the best plays. We had a great year and excited to do it again this year.
Yes, sir. Last year was a ton of fun, but of course, it's a new year, new season, new variants, new teams, new everything. And we're kicking off using Pick the Odds. We can see some money coming in on Dallas here. We got the money line going. I'll switch over to the spread. Saw this move to 8, actually. 8.5 still at some shops. 8 as well at some others. So we have what's expected to be a blowout game. Obviously, Michael Parsons no longer in Dallas. But, Johnny, let's do a little bit of a holistic overview of the game from a money line spread total. Diving some props. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to build out no-slip parlays or no sweat on DK and FD, and also they have some boosts out there as well that we're going to capitalize on and get some EV.
No doubt. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Give me 12 seconds now to get some promos out for the boys. You know how we always do here. We got to get as many people in chat as possible. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe. Watch on X, of course. Come right in. And if you're watching on Twitch, which we appreciate all Twitch watchers as well, hit that follow button on Twitch over there. We're growing. And we're growing. But Johnny, so Mike is out. I feel like the entire world, I see all the Pickett charts and all the, different avenues to try to track like public and pro money, talking about this being, one of those really heavy public games with Dallas just getting hammered. I know generally speaking that stuff kind of doesn't matter. It all comes out to handicap in the game. In NFL, of course, spreads are always going to be efficient, but how do you view this game from a holistic perspective before we dive in some props and some deeper picks for this one?
Yeah, it's interesting because this was a 6.5 line maybe a week ago, not even. And it went right through 7.5, and it's up to 8.5 in some spots. Wonder what the money looks like over the next hour or so before kickoff if this gets to 9. I haven't checked the splits here, so it's good that you have it up. But ultimately, I feel like, and this is just without the splits or anything, this is just my personal view of what I've seen. So 8.5 is a lot of points. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of points, and not just a divisional game, but opening night, week 1, Philadelphia is still expected to be one of the Super Bowl contenders again this year. But they lost some pieces on defense last year, dealt with some injuries in the O-line. And I don't have a lot of expectations for Dallas in 2025. I think the run game is going to be a disaster more than likely. Their defense wasn't really going to be that good. And then they lose Michael Parsons, and now it's really probably not going to be good. But I just feel like 8.5 is a lot of points. That's north of a one-possession game with Dak Prescott, who I think honestly could be able to move the ball with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens against the secondary, dealing with some depletions. 8.5 is a lot here. Wonder what Philly looks like off the Super Bowl hangover. But I think the early lean for me here, or the lean coming into this one, is going to be the Cowboys getting 8.5 here.
Yeah, we're seeing Bookmaker right here closing the spread. I have underdog up on my other monitor. I saw that there could be some bad weather in Philly, which could unfortunately could derail what we're expecting to see here, which would be a little delay to the NFL season would be annoying. But no, from a holistic game perspective, I mean, in survivor pools, I actually use the Eagles with 2 of my entries. I know it's not a great thing to use a team of their caliber so early. You want to try to save them, but I feel as if I look at the schedule. I'm sure there are some spots for Philly, but I kind of just wanted to get one in for that. But I'm a little bit conflicted overall. So I haven't played anything on the spread or the total. We'll watch Pick the Odds, see how the lines are moving. As you see, Circa right here just closed for a second, but they're back up. And of course, the massive 110K limits, as well as the 125K limits on Pinnacle, because that's, NFL is back. But Johnny, I feel like Dallas, as much as I think they suck too, their defense with some of the guys that they, still have they're not like household names, but they do have, like Dante Fowler. Of course, they got Kenny Clark from that trade with the Packers to get Micah Parsons. They have like Sam Williams. They have a couple of other young guys that I think like clearly they have some expectations for moving forward. Is it possible, Johnny, that this defense is not as bad as people expect and that people are overblowing the Parsons trade just a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, you still got Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland. Know what he was able to do with all the pick sixes a couple years ago. Malik Hooker. I like Kenneth Murray. I still think he can ball. I mean, it's not exactly the guy that was with the Chargers, but he's still a solid linebacker. And you got some guys that get after the passer. I mean, Fowler, Kenny Clark, Sam Williams. It's there. I think they could do enough. Now with the weather, it's certainly interesting. You being in the Northeast, you get a better feel of what the weather looks like today. But like I said, man, I just think 8.5 is a ton of points. I think maybe this Dallas defense can do enough. And when I say enough, maybe hold Philly to like 24 points, 27 points, possibly. And Dallas comes somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 points, 21. Make this right around 45 to 47 points in total. It's definitely possible, man. I also want to see what it looks like because Philly lost an important piece on their line. I think it was Dickerson, if I'm not mistaken. He got hurt over the summer, but it's definitely possible the Cowboys defense is going to come up and show up ready to play here on opening night. I mean, I think they have read a lot of the reports where this is going to be Philly's division or it's going to be Washington's, and the Giants and the Cowboys have virtually no shot here.
Yeah, this is a prove it kind of game for Dallas. Kind of sounds like dumb to put it that way, but like it is true. It's like basically like if they have any balls, like they trade Micah Parsons. You have a bunch of guys with some pedigree in that locker room. Like we mentioned Sam Williams, Kenny Clark, Osa. Not going to pronounce his last name, but from UCLA. He's been a good player when healthy. Solomon Thomas backing up Mozzie Smith, who was one of their high draft picks from Michigan, who was highly touted. So Dallas definitely at least feels to some degree that they do have at least something cooking. And we're looking at right now, pick the odds, the money line on the Cowboys and kind of how it's moved. And because it's been, up for so long, the chart can't even hold all the information because we're going all the way back to, mid-August here. But definitely interesting to see the sentiment. And of course, this is like pre-Parsons trade. Then like Parsons gets dealt and the odds move significantly. I saw some tweets from like Dave Mason at BOL that they took a big bet on Dallas plus the 8.5. So they moved to 8 promptly. So there's a lot of seems like later Dallas money coming in. We have Kalshi right here. They're offering now money lines as well as spreads actually on games. I don't know if they have that fully set to go, but very interesting. Some of the exchanges as well. Let's go to the 8.5, which is where there is more liquidity. Like Novig here has actually 27K of liquidity, but they're closing up. Things are just moving. And I have Underdog open. But if you guys see something in chat about, game getting delayed or some late injury report or something, like please feel free to drop that in chat because Johnny and I, of course, are, talking some of the game. But Johnny, talking about the Eagles, let's shift gears, do a little more holistic. And again, like I said, chat, we're going to be going in and talking, and I should say betting the DraftKings boost. They have a no sweat. FanDuel has a no sweat as well as a 50% boost. We're going to use pick the odds to find plus EV spots for that. We can also see if there's any pregame arbitrages as well. But Johnny, Philly off the Super Bowl, of course, W. Are you thinking this could be like a little bit of like a reset year, or is Philly just too good at this point?
I think Philly's too good, and I think ultimately the NFC is so wide open. I just put out on RotoWire my articles for teams and team success. And in my opinion, this year, I think the big players in the NFC are going to be Philly, Tampa. I think Washington's going to have a shot again to be a big player. Jaden Daniels continues to progress. And the one thing that worries me a little bit right now off the rip without really seeing anything is what the run game is going to look like without Brian Robinson now. But I feel like Detroit's going to regress. I felt like their shot was last year. I was a big Lions backer last season. I think San Francisco's Super Bowl window it's not officially closed, but the window is definitely shutting there on them. And then otherwise, it's just a bunch of, hey, maybe like Green Bay has that run this year and Micah Parsons makes that difference. But we haven't really been able to see Green Bay take that next step. I do like them. I think Love's going to have a big year. for Green Bay. I think Chicago, got to wait and see. Minnesota, just don't know if I buy it with JJ McCarthy in terms of like making a deep playoff run. And I think ultimately the NFC North is a big question mark. The NFC West, the Rams, you can't count out. But again, I feel like the roster is very top heavy. NFC South, Atlanta, diehard Atlanta fan, but they don't have a defense, and they're always the trendy pick. Arizona's the trendy pick. Got to wait and see it with them. But I think Philadelphia is one of like the three main horses in the NFC. The roster is going to be really good again. It's just that's what it is for them. Ultimately, can they avoid these letdowns? Can they stay healthy? Because I think top to bottom, they're going to have one of the best rosters in the NFL. They have the pedigree, they have it proven, and now for them, their schedule doesn't look terrible, but it's definitely difficult to start. I mean, they got Dallas, then they're at KC, then LAR, then at Tampa, then home to Denver, and then they also go to Minnesota in week 7. So I think it could ultimately be a little bit of a slow start here, but I expect them to be able to pick it up in the second half of the year, Eric, and get ready for another playoff run. So I'm still of the belief that Philadelphia is championship caliber yet again, and Tampa is my official pick at 13-1 to win the NFC. Odds as well as the open door. But the only other team that I would bet at the moment is Philadelphia, even at a short price. Just because until I see them completely fall off the table, I'm going to keep betting them. Sort of like Kansas City.
No debates for me on the Philly part. We could of course break down some other the future stuff. Of course, we want to get some value for the Thursday night game listening, but in terms of what you broke down with Philly, I have absolutely no debates. I think they are now in that KC class, like organizationally, where betting against them it's never fun. Of course, value is value, and we're going to find some value right now with pick the odds. But with that being said, I absolutely do agree with you with Philly that I'm expecting another deep run from them, and of course, that could end with another Super Bowl ring. But Johnny, we have a bunch of boosts. If you guys are watching in chat, if you guys are in a DK state, normally on these streams, I stick to DK and FD just because they are the most widely available, though I'm sure a lot of people here are probably limited by both, but you can still get down on, friends account or whoever you guys are betting these days. Of course, having access to like ProfitX and Novig and Kalshi are huge. Use promo code BetSmart for any of those platforms. You get yourself some free cash. But the first boost I want to talk about, we'll talk about some fun stuff. DraftKings is a 50% touchdown boost. This could be for anytime touchdown or first touchdown. Johnny, talk to me where you're looking for this one. Is there anybody who's come across pregame, or of course we can, go through pick the odds. They have literally the odds on every single player to score a touchdown, so we could find value the old-fashioned way. Or if you're somebody that's sticking out to you off the rip, who you're interested in to score a touchdown tonight, or even the first touchdown.
It's so funny because obviously the Eagles Cowboys lines have been up for a while. So they've been hammered, and there's just been a ton of movement on them in terms of like what the numbers are looking like, what the action that they're taking in on. And especially if we're getting weather, how fitting would it be where like we're expecting a game that ends damn near 50-point total and ends up being like a 17-10 type of game because of the rain. That would be very fitting in a sense like this. But ultimately, I could see a lot going on for Dallas. I think they're going to end up having to throw the ball a lot. CeeDee Lamb at plus 150 is definitely interesting. CeeDee Lamb, I expect to have a big year as long as Prescott stays healthy. George Pickens is kind of drawing that trendy dark horse pick to score tonight. I think plus 235 is solid, though, for Pickens. I do, because with CeeDee Lamb, Pickens is going to get a lot of one-on-ones. Pickens is one of the premier 50-50 ball winners in the NFL, especially with Dallas and the uncertainty of the run game. What does that look like in the red zone? This could easily be a situation where, like, Tampa uses Mike Evans, the 6'5" tower on the edge on a 1v1, throw either a high fade or a back shoulder. I think that could be similar with Pickens, and you're in the neighborhood of 235 right now for Pickens. I think that's definitely worth a look here. Also for Philadelphia, I'm going to avoid Barkley at the minus 180 or Jalen Hurts at the minus 150 straight up. I think Devontae Smith 2-1. Devontae Smith is another one of these guys that takes the top off of a defense. We see it all the time every year. Like, he's got those games where he goes absolutely nuts. This is a guy that should probably see a lot of single coverage tonight. You got Arthur, Shelby Brown. You got Barkley out of the backfield. You got Gotti. I think Devontae Smith and George Pickens are two solid picks tonight. The wide receiver twos will not be seeing unfavorable coverages because their wide receiver ones demand so much attention.
Absolutely. And Dallas Goedert, everybody, if you forgot how good he was in the playoffs last year because he was hurt last year, you have Saquon Barkley in the backfield, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. If you just have them run go routes, and then what's there? The wide open middle of the field. Johnny V, popular guy.
Hold on. Sorry.
No worries at all. But because this is a 50% boost and considering the pricing, like we have Circa now utilizing anytime touchdown. So this is what I'm actually going to do very quickly here while Johnny has to, handle business, of course. But I was messing around with the EV calculations on Pick the Odds and for the anytime touchdowns. I have the same EV calc that I've been using for tests, but of course, at this point, it's not a test of the guys who have been rocking with me on stream for months now. Appreciate you guys, but we, of course, have a little bit of now we know with player props we can customize and filter directly the props we want. And now that anytime touchdowns are up, as well as rushing yards, pass yards, we can start to learn over the course of the season which sports books are sharper in which markets, so we can deviate from that. And now that anytime TD, we have odds from Circa, and we can basically kind of figure out which books are also the sharpest. So because Circa has these odds, and that's something that they haven't historically really offered, I'm going to assume that they're offering it because they have, a very good gauge on what they think the prices should be. I know Kalshi is going to be offering these as well, so I'm going to be adding that. And if you don't have No Big Profit or Kalshi, again, you guys are missing out on really great value with your trades there. So promo code BetSmart to get started. So I want to mess around a little bit with this. So I'm just going to do this very quickly. I know a lot of people here love looking at the EV calcs as well. So just to see how I'm building this out on Pick the Odds, which is really one of the best platforms out there. Just really quickly building out an EV calc for anytime touchdowns, just so we can stick with this. I already built one, but now that we have some thoughts with who could potentially be the sharp books and these things, and the best part about EV calcs is and building your own is as you get new information, you can realistically go in and find and update them daily, back test them and see which ones are actually accurate and which ones are providing with the most value. Long-winded way, we'll come back to the EV screen, but bringing the story all the way around, and this is back to 7.5. Oh crap! Look, we had some big action. What just happened here?
At what point does Dallas? So you're still getting Dallas at 8.5 on FanDuel. At what point is Dallas public? Now everybody's kind of thinking the same thing. Where 8.5 is a lot of points. And some books we just saw come down to 7.5. Like where's that median?
It's a great question. Obviously, 7.5 being a key number, 8 as well. With the way teams go for 2 these days. I personally don't really try to pay attention to public versus sharp action in that sense. Like last year, we know that the public cleaned up. Sportsbooks admitted it. They said it was one of the worst football years ever, and including CFB. And what happened week 1 of CFB, the public got freaking slaughtered in the top 5. I think. Heaviest public sides after the fact were 5 straight losers. So just like with, I know you'll obviously know this as well, Johnny, in baseball, what comes up must go down. And because the season is so big and the sample sizes unfold in front of you, you see that, over the course of the season 3 or 4 times where teams hit peaks and valleys. In football, peaks and valleys, especially from betting, might not be realized until 2 or 3 years because the sample sizes are so small. So landing the plane here and coming back to kind of what you're saying here, I think just generally speaking, if you get the best number in an NFL game and that's the side that you're on, I don't think anybody should really pay attention to those kind of splits, because if you have the best number, you have the best chance you possibly have to hit a bet. You did your job as a gambler, and whatever happens on the field is entirely out of your control.
I know it's a little off, but real quick, I had something that I wanted to talk about with you.
Absolutely.
Have you seen just the disgusting predatory behavior by every single book with teasers this year?
I am literally writing a newsletter about it tomorrow.
Like DraftKings was the premier teaser book for me last year. 120, which was pretty standard. That was probably the best in the industry across. And when we say industry, we're talking like the main books, the books that most people have access to. Not everybody uses the smaller books. But DraftKings is where I primarily did my teasers. Minus 120. Now it's minus 135. FanDuel was 135 last year, which is specifically why I did not use them. Because like, why are you going to pay another? Why are you going to pay another $15 to use a teaser? And now you look at it this year, it's insane. I mean, FanDuel is actually cheaper than DraftKings. They're 134 for a teaser, and it's gotten to the point where I don't even know. I don't even know if you can do teasers anymore. Like
No.
and that's off principle. Like why would I pay that just because I think it's going to win? It's disgusting. I don't like the way the direction of this whole thing is trending because it's taking I don't even say the integrity because that's not the right word, but it's taking the fun out of it. Like you're like who's laying a teaser with one at minus 135?
It's a negative EV bet, so
That
hope
bet.
nobody don't. If you guys are in chat, loading up a teaser like you used to do this year, last year, 20 years ago, value's gone at 135. There is absolutely no need to place a teaser. If you probably, even if the odds shouldn't make sense, but if you parlay two money lines at that point, you're probably getting better odds than the minus 135 on the teaser that you would have to be paying. So I'm glad you did bring that up because I am writing, not the whole newsletter is predicated on this, but it is going to be a part of it because I'm talking about all the rule changes of the NFL in my newsletter. So if you guys aren't following that newsletter, just Google quickly BetSmart newsletter. Should be the first thing that pops up. Subscribe. I have almost 200 subscribers, entirely organic. So I appreciate all you guys on the newsletter there. But no, I'm glad you did bring that up because it is a great talking point because they're criminal. But Johnny, we have some boosts to use and some bets to take. We're talking negative EV, but we're going to try to find some positive EV parlays to be building. And you mentioned, you like Pickens, you like Devonta Smith, you also are interested in Lamb. Because the boost is 50%, you're going to have EV to the market because of the boost. It's so big, and that's what they do at week one. But Johnny, you're probably going to hate me for this, but I used my boost yesterday, and we're going to go to first TD, and we're going to go to guess who? Because I just did it. I bet Saquon Barkley first tutty with the boost. I actually got plus 425. So with the boost, it was plus 638. So I did beat the market there. Even Circa having first TDs now, which is very important to note. They're hanging at 335. Best in market is at Play Now Sports. I'm not sure if that's a widely available book. Maybe in Canada it is. Definitely not in the US. But if you have Play Now and you're interested, I mean, with the boost on DK, it'd be better. But long story short, Johnny, I opted to use my boost on the first tutty, and I went with the man, the myth, the legend, Saquon.
That's your boy.
638. So
Offensive player of the year last year. That was a nice hit for you. I want to mention something on Devontae Smith real quick. It means absolutely nothing, but I know people like this stuff for fodder. But Devontae Smith, the last 3 seasons that the Eagles have played the Cowboys in Philly, Devontae Smith scored a touchdown in all of them. Dallas allowed the 4th most touchdowns to wide receivers last year at 19. A lot of touchdowns last year against wide receivers. Dallas did.
Absolutely a ton.
I think,
Johnny,
interesting.
No, very quick again digression. Not to spend too much time, but are you in Survivor this year? And if so, who'd you take? So I love hearing your Survivor takes.
I did not do Circa Survivor this year. Just with my move, new job, getting out to Vegas was a little tough. But I'm definitely going to do it next year. It's funny because I was taking a look in Denver. Denver's going to be the popular pick this week. I think like 30-something% is going to use Denver. And I get it. I think it's a good bet. I think it's a good play. Cam Ward, as much as I love him, rookie QB on the road in the altitude week 1 against a really good defense with not that many pass catching options against one of the stingiest secondaries from last year. I think Philly's good. I think Arizona's a solid play. I think honestly the Cardinals at the Saints are strong. And let me ask you a question.
Yes,
how ballsy would you get for and this is for somebody to say had 10 Circa Survivor entries? Because a lot of the big thing, and listen, and I understand it, but when I made my run a couple years ago, I just worried about surviving and advancing. And then you deal with the fallout and you adjust and calculate your handicaps the following week once you advance. But if I had 10 entries, I think 1 might go on Cleveland this week at home against Cincinnati.
So As somebody who plays low stakes survivor, so like we talked about all year on your pod, I'm not going to even try to compare it to what it's like playing in a circuit contest where there's things going. And one thing my survivor does that I enjoy is up until week 3, you can buy back. If you lose, you just lose the team that you lost to. So I'm all for taking a chance week 1, and my chance that I took week 1 being okay with buying back in, because we're talking, I have 4 entries at $25 a pop, so I'm not losing sleep over these entries. My I mean, they're technically a favorite, so I guess it's really not a hot take, but my week 1 YOLO survivor per se was actually the Colts.
Okay, I don't hate it. I think that's a 50-50 game. That's like a point and a half spread.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's fair. I mean, dude, other than really like the last 3 times they played, Cleveland's had Cincinnati's number in the Joe Burrow era. This is and listen, like they're a 5.5 point dog at home, but I just felt like Cleveland with Joe Flacco, poised quarterback. We know obviously by now Cincinnati's a notoriously slow starting team, and their defense is bad, dude. And like
Mhm.
Cleveland's still got some playmakers, still got Jerry Jeudy, you got David Njoku. Flacco is a very veteran, poised quarterback that can make some stuff happen. The running game might not be that bad. I mean, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, I don't know what that's going to look like. Still got Myles Garrett on the other end. This is if you're in a low stake survivor where you could buy back in, or you have a lot of entries. I don't think Cleveland's a terrible contrarian pick. It looks worse on paper, but like the more you really dive into it, those are the kind of picks where how many times are you going to use the Browns this year? Not many, if any.
If
And
any.
Cincinnati, if you're going to bet against them, this is the time of year to do so.
No, I think that honestly just makes more sense, like holistically, like capping the slate than in a survivor sense, because I agree with you. I'm not touching the Bengals. Even if teasers were at good prices, I wasn't teasing the Bengals. I'm definitely looking at the Browns this week. But the only issue is in like if it's a buyback league, if you do Cleveland and you lose and you buy back, you also lose Cincinnati. So that would be probably like the problem with it from a survivor sense. But from like a just against the spread betting sense, I'm absolutely with you where I'm not betting on the Cincinnati Bengals laying points on the road in Cleveland. I think that they'll be able to run the football. The Bengals defense is porous, and the Browns, if Flacco doesn't go again in like a YOLO Flacco mode, just trying to gunsling it 90 times, and Billy just turns around, hands it off, takes the throws, that will be, the Browns scoring 17 plus points is almost a miracle, but I think the Browns can actually, maintain a competitive type of game. Absolutely, Johnny. But we got some boosts to build. I know you love
Hold on, one
Devonta
more.
Smith.
I
Talk to me.
apologize. One
No,
more
keep
real
it going. Love it, love it, love it.
There's not too many opportunities to use them this year in terms of a survivor, but I'm high on. I like Seattle this year.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle is picked to finish last in division. They have the worst odds. They're north of 5-1 to win the NFC West. I don't understand it. I think their defense is going to be pretty good. I mean, they have a lot of playmakers at all 3 levels. Obviously, a lot of it depends on Darnold, but I feel like Seattle is going to carry a lot of the stuff Minnesota did well last year with Darnold, like a lot of the play structure and a lot of the type of formations that they're going to use. It's going to be very built on play action, at least according to new OC Clint Kubiak. I like JSN as the one. Cooper Kupp, if he stays healthy, you got 2 really good backs. You got a couple sleepers out there for the Seahawks. And if Sam Darnold makes the jump and continues what he did last year, at home against San Francisco week 1, who I'm not that high on, I mean, Seattle, you got home again at home week 3 against New Orleans. That's usable. At Jacksonville in week 6 could be usable. But other than that, there's not that many games that I would look to be taking Seattle and Survivor. San Francisco is a bit scary, but I got to be honest. I don't know if I'm expecting a ton from the Niners.
I don't disagree with you at all. Like I really don't. I really don't. I can see where you're coming from, and I'm a little bit higher on the Niners just because like last year, like I think really was a little bit of an anomaly with all the injuries, and like the Super Bowl hangover is actually more so for the opposing team than the team that actually, or I should say the losing team, than the team that actually won the Super Bowl. So, but I think again, like from the Chiefs' perspective, I'm not fading the Chiefs and believing in that narrative. I think KC will be fine, but it's an interesting point you make, Johnny.
I think I don't know. This is me. Christian McCaffrey, I think if he stays healthy, he's good to go. I think McCaffrey's got 1, maybe 2 elite years. There's a thing in the back of my head, and this is based on absolutely nothing. Nothing. I feel like McCaffrey could hang it up at the end of the year. And it's based on nothing. He got married, he's got a kid. He's done pretty much everything you can do at the NFL level as a running back other than win a Super Bowl. He has made his money. He's in his 30s. Like, there's not much more. And that's based on nothing. McCaffrey could play for another 5 years for all I know. Purdy made 50 mil. Does he take his foot off the gas? A lot of guys that get paid, which was absurd, giving him $50 million a year. Their wide receiver situation is a bit of a mess. I like Ricky Pearsall a lot this year, especially for fantasy. But Juwan Jennings, I don't know if I'm buying him as an every week wide receiver 1, 2. George Kittle's 32. The defense is nothing compared to what it used to be. We haven't really seen that big Nick Bosa season in a few years. Fred Warner's still a dog. He's still one of the best players in the league. I don't know, man. Listen, San Francisco winning 10 games wouldn't surprise me, but I could see this team kind of what happened last year, more or less, be the new norm for this year.
It's an interesting topic of conversation, especially because the West is a much better division. So the Niners aren't just going to walk into Arizona and guarantee 2 dubs. Obviously, the Rams have been good in Seattle. I do agree with their sentiment that they're a little bit under the radar now, which is actually a good thing. Of course, like you said, it comes down to Darnold and how well they can perform. But all things considered, with Seattle, their defensive coach, or their head coach is the defensive coach. And last year, toward the end of the year, their defense came on, and they were really slowed down so much by injuries to start. So now that they're healthy, a little bit reloaded, and I think not to be strictly narrative based here, but when a team is not talked about enough, that does intrigue me to a degree, just because, again, public sentiment, of course, media biases and things like that are going to creep into your subconscious regardless if you want them to or not. But the fact that they've stayed low key, and I was high on them last year. I mean, I hit their win total last year. They still didn't make the playoffs. So I basically evened out on Seattle.
Their front four should be good. They picked up DeMarcus Lawrence, Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy. So got Leonard Williams anchor in the D line. The linebacking core could be solid. Ernest Jones was a big contributor with the Rams. Their secondary, if they're healthy, could be really good. Tariq Woolen, remember Tariq Woolen a few years ago was a standout as a rookie. Devon Witherspoon was drawing defensive rookie of the year conversations a few years ago. Julian Love, Josh Jobe, it could be a very Kobe Bryant. It could be a very, very good Seattle defense, especially if that front four lives up to the billing. I feel like there's some sleeping going on with Seattle, dude. I think this could ultimately end up being a 9, maybe even a 10-win team. The schedule is not brutal. I mean, there's some big tilt games. They got Tampa Bay, they got Houston, they got Washington, they have Minnesota, Sam Darnold revenge game. There's some of those kind of tilt games, but there's a lot of winnable matchups on the schedule. And if they beat San Francisco, they go to Pittsburgh week 2, come home and play New Orleans week 3, go to Arizona week 4. I mean, that could realistically be a 3-1 start to the season.
No, it's very possible. It is absolutely very possible. But Johnny, you're talking touchdowns from before. We have a DraftKings no sweat, a FanDuel no sweat, and a FanDuel 50% boost to use for anybody who's hopping in stream now. I used my 50% DK boost for anytime touchdown on Saquon first tutty. Because it's a 50% boost, you're really going to find EV on kind of whoever you use, so or whoever you bet on. So it does come down to dealer's choice there. But Johnny, I know you've been talking about a big B. Smith game. Are you cool with adding Devonta Smith as the first leg of this Dallas Philly no sweat lay that we're going to be cooking up?
I mean, I like Devonta Smith this year. I think he's going to be solid. I mean, fantasy purposes, there's going to be what he always kind of has, that those hit and miss weeks. Could have that week where he goes 8 for $130, 2 scores, and then he can have that week where he goes 3 for 20. But I think Devonta Smith's going to be, again, a key cog in what's going to be another really good offense for Philadelphia. I think he's kind of an unsung hero. He allows them to do so much because you can't key on A.J. Brown. and you have to respect the pass game, which ultimately ends up opening up the run game for Saquon and Jalen Hurts. I like DeVonta Smith, man. I think this is a guy that's probably going to be in the realm of like seven touchdowns on the low, maybe 10 touchdowns on the high. And I think week 1 at home, defending the Super Bowl champion against Dallas's defense, it's a solid play. Now he's north of 2-1 to score a touchdown tonight. I think that's a little big.
Perfect. So Johnny, definitely looking at that for a 50% boost. We'll add that as the first leg of our no sweat that we're going to be cooking up. Trying to find some plus EV here, but of course with the no sweat we can get a little bit more creative with what we play. And like these lines have been out forever. We're betting 30 minutes before the game starts. So moving forward for streams, just for the audience here, I'll definitely be streaming some games earlier. So like when we're betting on the night before the game or the hour before the game, we're kind of more just like talking ball, talking shop, and like finalizing some stuff rather than because obviously we want to get some stuff earlier in the week as possible to get as much EV as possible and capitalize on some early moves. But I'm going to add my next leg to this, and I'm not seeing a great value from well, no, I don't know. These odds are moving like crazy. It's looking like the game is probably going to be delayed, unfortunately. But I think that Saquon, Johnny, actually in the passing game is going to get a little bit more work this year. I think that he's a little bit underrated of a receiving back. And yes, they funnel their targets to DeVonta Smith, AJ Brown, and company. But instead of looking at receptions, just considering what he can do with the ball in his hands, I'm going to add to our lay here, no sweat. We're going to try to get to at least 10-1, just for the good vibes and for the fun of it. It's no sweat bet, and you're going to have a low max. But I'm actually adding this one right here, Saquon plus 205 for 25 plus rushing yards to our no sweat. So right now we have DeVonta Smith anytime, Saquon 25 plus receiving yards. Doing it on my phone, unfortunately, because every time I try to do it on stream, location never works. But let's find one more leg, Johnny, for this no sweat. And considering it's a no sweat, of course you can get a little bit like crazy with some alt lines or some touchdowns.
You want to get gross? You want to get grimy?
Always. We have another one to build too on FanDuel, so we can get as grimy as possible on both of them.
I'm interested. I want to see what the injury report is real quick, but it looks like he is good to go because he's not on the injury report. How about Kevontae Turpin, 25 receiving yards, plus 167.
Let's get him up right here. I want to look at the market, but I'm absolutely intrigued. Give me a little bit of your thoughts on Turpin, because I know obviously he's a lightning in a bottle type player, but I'm definitely curious your thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it always comes down to like how many snaps is Turpin going to play on offense, how many opportunities he's going to get in the pass game. In all fairness, he got 5 targets the last week of the regular season against Washington. And then the week before he got 4. So really the best case scenario for him is probably to get 4 or 5 catches. Like maybe they get in a little gadget play. And obviously like this is plus money for a reason. It's definitely gross and grimy, but Kevontae Turpin's a guy that obviously could take the top off of defense. He's one of those guys that you could just take a shot to the middle of the field, especially if Dallas is in a pass situation and you're locking in on Lamb and you're locking in on Pickens and you have Ferguson. I mean, it's not really based on much other than I feel like he's a matchup nightmare. This is a guy that's got a ton of speed and he is very, very capable of making plays. I mean, I know Jalen Tolbert is technically the 3 receiver, but I feel like Dallas is going to look to get Kevontae Turpin the ball in ways other than just the return game.
If there's ever a time to, take the top off a defense or at least get aggressive. Now we know Vic Fangio is a DC. His whole thing is to keep everything kind of in front of his defense. Doesn't like, letting up those big plays, because why would any defensive coordinator want a lot of big plays? But absolutely EV to FanDuel on DK. This parlay, Johnny, I just put it in on both. DeVonta Smith actually just went up to plus 210, so getting an extra 5 cents there. But on DK, this parlay is 23-1. On FanDuel, this parlay is 13-1.
Shopping around is important.
It's at 25-1 now. I think they're just making up numbers. I'm not gonna lie, because none of the odds changed. 210, 205, 176, which we're seeing right here on Pick the Odds as well. But I'm locking in my no sweat here. What's my max no sweat? It's up to $5. That's so annoying. What are you going to do with DK? But I locked it in. That's the first one. We have two. We have another 50% boost to use and another boost on, or another no sweat on FanDuel to get action down on for this game. And we used touchdown boost. Johnny loves Devonta Smith. I love Saquon first tutty with that boost. And I also played the like DraftKings boost of Saquon anytime, because how could I not? But no sweat, locked and loaded. Now let's kind of look more for some value on draft. On FanDuel instead of DraftKings, but max no sweat. Again, I'll read off what we got. It's a very beautiful parlay in my opinion of Turpin 25 plus receiving yards, Devonta Smith anytime, and Saquon Barkley 25 plus receiving yards. The ring light makes it hard to see, but we're locked and loaded, boys. Let's keep rocking.
What's the weather situation? Because it's obviously going to dictate how bad's the rain.
So what I'm hearing or seeing is the game might be postponed or delayed.
What?
Not postponed. Delayed because
is there thunder?
Yeah, expected thunder and lightning. Yes. Let me see. Let's see. Anybody drop in chat if you have any good like NFL weather accounts? But I'm really curious because I'm reading from a group chat that I'm in that are paying more attention to what's going on right this second. That the game might be delayed because the radar looks very bad for the second half. But as long as there's no lightning, right, we can play football. Even if there's lightning, we can play football. Or can we not play football?
No, you can't play football with lightning.
That's frustrating because it's actually been a gorgeous day, not gonna lie. Up until now, though, Philly, of course, is south of where I'm at. But
let me ask you a question. Let's take a look.
Talk to me, brother.
Anything if the weather's bad, what do you think about under 24.5 first half total?
Well, the weather isn't supposed to pick up until the second half.
But the weather's bad right now.
No, if I'm not watching the broadcast on my other monitor, so I genuinely don't know. I'm under the impression the weather is not bad, but will be bad. But if I'm wrong, somebody in chat, please correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's why every game needs to be indoors. Every team needs a stadium. And like, I know some people don't agree, but I can't stand weather impacting the game. I mean, other than like beautiful snow games, I don't like weather impacting. I want to see both teams at their best. No excuses, no conditions. But yeah, that's going to play a part here, obviously.
Using pick the odds, we can very quickly see how the market has moved for the first half total here, down to 23.5. Of course, 24 still being a key number. FanDuel actually best price of market at plus 108 on the under. Better than Profit X as well as Novig, both with pretty solid liquidity. Better than Penny, which has 5K limits on this first half total. See down the line here, Bet Rivers that same price, Bovada hanging at minus 105. So BOL with the plus 100, even money. Bet Bookmaker minus 105. So could be onto something here, though. Again, I'm not too in tune. We got a comment here. Weather is fine. Now a real bad sell shows up around the second half. Thank you so much, Bets from the Boot. Appreciate that insight. So yeah, like looking at it might be too late or not the move to get in for some first half stuff, but definitely because there's a live bet boost as well. So obviously I'm sure people are going to want to get down on that, but I hope it's not a situation where they like delay the start to hopefully like, wait it out per se. That would not be ideal, but John, we have a 50% boost on FanDuel. We can use it on a straight. We can use it as a parlay, quite literally any game. It could be saved for live for any live bettors in chat. But at the same time, we can also use it right this second.
Are we throwing Saquon Barkley over 18.5 carries? It's a little juice latte to the over, minus 148. That's on FanDuel right now. Saquon Barkley was a king at getting over carries last year, especially in the second half. Especially if the weather's bad at any point, like say it's a second half bad weather, and especially if Philly's playing with a lead, give the ball to Barkley. I mean, I don't know what the plan is this year. I mean, yeah, he had 344 carries, but for 25, I'm not sure if there's a goal to maybe reduce that to maybe 310 or closer to 300 or whatever it looks like. But until we see it, I think Barkley should be in good shape to get 20 carries, especially against Dallas's defense.
Looking at some of the exchanges here, the under 18.5 has more liquidity over at Novig as well as at Profit X, but I've been offering over 18.5. And the over at 19.5 is much more liquidity than the under at 19.5 over at Novig. But the thing I want to check actually, because I think if you remember from last year, FanDuel sometimes does not allow you to same game parlay certain metrics, and I feel like carries was one, but I could absolutely be wrong. Let's double check here. Yeah, rush attempts cannot be same game parlayed.
It's ridiculous. It's so dumb.
They pick and choose what they do.
I liked when FanDuel and DraftKings came out the first couple of years, like 2018, 2019, when you could just parlay absolutely everything. They didn't give a shit. You could do whatever you wanted. It was like Netflix. Remember when Netflix used to be like $10 a month, share passwords. They would give you a brand new show. They would give you every episode at once. Now they delay, make you wait a week. It's just everything got mainstreamed and it ruined it.
Yeah, absolutely ruined it. They did anything they could for $1, unfortunately. But Johnny, we have this 50% boost, and I'm curious how to use it, right? Like, of course, we could just do a straight bet touchdown, use it. We could do a first tutty, use it. We could do a parlay, nuke and use it. We could do a little alt line and use it. I'm of course here looking at first TD. We know that Javonte Williams is going to be starting at running back for Dallas. Of course, the general sentiment is Dallas is going to, get their ass kicked, but some late money in the market might be disputing that. And of course, the first drive doesn't necessarily tell us that. We also know Dallas had a no ground game with Javonte Williams coming off an absolutely terrible injury. But is there any intrigue on boosting anything Javonte Williams related, or is it just one of those situations where it's like, listen, like Dallas's run game is abysmal. They literally had 4 carries of over 20 yards last year. Not like anything should be changing for the better. And it's just like, listen, like while we don't want to keep last year's metrics in our minds this year, it's like they can't run the football. Like there's nothing else to say.
All right, let's play the scenario out. Let's use a line to do it. Dallas on the road is an 8.5-point dog, correct?
Yes.
So Dallas is likely on paper preseason projected to probably have one of the worst rushing attacks, correct?
Absolutely. There's nothing telling me that would change, but I hate to cut you off here, Johnny, but we're seeing right now a George Pickens first tutty at 19-1 at DK, where at the rest of the market, including Circa, the average is 13.09. Of course, don't know what the best book to dig from for a first tutty is, but from just a price perspective, does that not scream wager?
Why not? I mean, that's a play. I mean, dude, touchdowns are so high variance. They're so fluky. I mean, obviously it's luck. I don't care. Like we could sit here and say, hey, I like the matchup. I think Pickens can score because of XYZ, but it's in the truth. It's like hitting a home run. You could play through all the X's and O's and the wind and this and that, but it's incredibly difficult and it's very fluky. But 19-1 is pretty good. I think George Pickens is definitely got a shot to get in the end zone tonight for sure. And first touchdown, why not? Give it a shot. But back to Javonte. I probably need to see what Dallas looks like on the ground before I start betting him. And in truth, like if Dallas indeed is playing from behind, which they're projected to, how much running are they possibly going to do? Like, is Javonte Williams going to be this 15 to 20 carry guy, especially tonight? I mean, this is a guy that didn't have more than 15. This guy only had 15 carries twice last year. I like Javonte, but the injury was just so devastating for his career. Maybe this year, like he gets back to what everybody thought he was going to be coming out of UNC. I still think Javonte Williams is a good football player.
Absolutely, I absolutely.
But the injury he had was just so catastrophic for him, and it set him back so much. So I probably would want to wait to see what he looks like before I start betting him.
No, absolutely. And again, like I'm just hate to be like mesmerized here, but like we're talking straight market, right? And again, I don't know how to devig properly a first touchdown. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But with Circa hanging a 25-1 and DraftKings lit hanging a 50-1 on a Miles Sanders, who is the RB2, and Dallas quite literally has 2 running backs going for them healthy. This is first tutty only, so I want to check anytime just to check. But 8-1, I mean,
Bro, crazy things happen. Like, it's just this is what I'm saying. Like, crazy things happen. It's not a bad bet. You see, like Joe Jerkoff, who's the fifth string wide receiver for a team, score a touchdown first. It's like, oh, who had that? You don't know. It's stuff like that. I mean, listen, it's worth like a $10 bet. Hey, maybe Dallas gets the ball first, goes down the field, and Miles Sanders gets in and steals a goal line touchdown. I mean, it's incredibly possible. It's not something I'm looking to run to the window to bet, but hey, if you're intrigued by it, throw a $10 bet on it.
I'm intrigued by it solely based on, again, the market. Like 3-1, 30-1, I mean, at FanDuel being the best price, 25-1 at Circa being, again, like it's hard to call it the sharpest book in this market because I know Circa hasn't always been offering these bets, and who knows how sharp they truly are. But a lot of EV betting, as we know, is picking off numbers in different situations. And if I'm seeing again this 50-1 at DraftKings, maybe DraftKings is the EV book, and we'll learn that, and I'll gladly lose $5 in the process. And like you said, it could very easily be Saquon Barkley, who I already have money on, who just is the guy who comes in and scores. But sorry to like kind of change courses here. I was just shocked to see such a big misprice here, and I understand why it's beyond a long shot. We're talking about a 50-1 bet for a guy who might carry the ball 5 times and not even a single one of them being in the red zone. But just again, like using price as my anchor, which I think is just good process. Of course, if you're pricing and deviating to the right books, to me that's a little bit of a no-brainer here. This 12-1, again, Talk Sports Bet. I don't even know what book that is, but him to score 2+ touchdowns is 75-1, where first is 50-1. I know there's not like a direct correlation there, but I mean, listen, like from a pricing perspective, odds compared to market. Shout out to Pick the Odds, of course, for having me find that so easily. And if Miles Sanders comes in, I can't say I'm counting on it because that's absolutely not the case. But I'm making that bet for $5 to $10 every single time, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, it's complete. Why not? I know Philadelphia was great against running backs last year, not allowing. I think they only allowed like 5 touchdowns to backs rushing all of last year. But hey, man, like easily could see Dallas win the toss or Philly win the toss and defer, and Dallas goes right down the field. Like I think the Dallas offense is going to be solid this year, at least through the pass game. Like I have Dak Prescott on a couple of my futures here. Lead the league in pass yards, lead the league in pass touchdowns. I think him getting at least one this year is going to be very possible. I think they're going to be throwing a ton. I think this is an offense that's 35 plus pass attempts a game. He's got 2 really good receivers, and hey, like maybe the running game could be somewhat decent, maybe. But I feel like the Cowboys are going to be able to score this year if everybody stays healthy. That's they're going to be their only shot. Like this is probably going to be a team that's got to be averaging 24 points a game at least, and I'm talking about on the low end to have a shot at probably making the playoffs this year.
Copy that. I'm seeing again from weather perspective, it's in the city area. Apparently, it just started pissing rain. So if it's going down south, then maybe the link might be next. Shout out to DJ Palm for the text and give me that update. But John, should we put our money where our mouth is on the Dallas? Because I do agree that they're going to be throwing the football. If they're playing from behind, they're going to be relying on the pass to get back in. Looking at some prices for Dak now. I mean, DK has the best price at plus 435 for Dak, over 2.5. Passing tutties, but for the 50% boost on FanDuel, that would of course make it a better price and make it plus EV to the market. Of course, even better than Circus, 425 that they're taking 1K limits, which is nice to see. But FanDuel for the plus 112 is the best price on widely available books. For today's game, Johnny, for the sake of this slip, it's a booster and no sweat, so not losing sleep of these bets aren't hitting. We're trying to get some EV, of course, for chat. Are you leaning toward pass yards or pass tutties for Dax? I would love to throw one of those into a slip right here. You're on mute, brother.
I don't mind either. I was just playing around. I think so. If we like Dallas plus 8.5, chances are they're going to have to be throwing the ball a lot, right? It's correlated. I think Dak Prescott over 1.5 pass touchdowns is solid. I don't know if I see a lot of rushing touchdowns from Dallas, especially against Philadelphia's defense, which is pretty good against the run. I know they have some dogs in the secondary, but I think that's going to be their way to score. The yards, 242.5. And the problem is, like, these have been getting played so hard in the last few days, but they've started getting played weeks ago.
Yep.
And they're probably incredibly sharp. The amount of movement.
Absolutely.
I'd probably lean touchdowns over yards because I think, listen, Dak could throw an empty 300-yard game and they can get blown out. But if he throws 2 passing touchdowns, that's related to scoring. And I think that would correlate better with the Cowboys covering the 8.5.
Absolutely. So I'm definitely down to add Dak over 1.5 passing yards for the first leg of this parlay. I will either go no sweat or 50% boost, depending on what else we find. But looking like deeper down the board, like a Dotson, even a Calcaterra, we know that the Eagles are just straight funnels for the guys that they're funnels for. Like, Grant doesn't even have odds on most of these places, so maybe he's not even considered. Is there anyone deep down the board you're interested in? Because, of course, like, we've been talking about a bunch of overs here because we are having fun. And like you said, Johnny, because these lines have been out for so long, they've been hammering into place. And we're also so close to kickoff here. I'm not going to pretend we're going to find some massive 10% EVs before here, which is why, of course, Big the Odds helping us find what we can get now. But we're not pretending and sitting here like we're first to market finding, some massive edges. That's just, of course, not the situation here. But do want to maximize these. So we have Dak over 1.5 passing yards. So if we do a parlay here, we're not going to be able to include somebody like CD or Pickens because it's going to kill the odds of the lay. Of course, it's correlated, which is helpful. We could do some reverse correlation with some maybe actually wouldn't work because we have receivers. But Johnny, anything? I know we've gone 57 minutes of talking in-depth ball here on this game, and again a sharper game. Anybody like pique your interest a little bit? Because if we are doing like a no sweat, there's no shame in kind of throwing some darts at this point.
Receiver.
Because part of me with the boost just wants to, because with the no sweat that we did on DK, we took Turpin and Barkley on their overs for receiving yards, but alternate. Part of me, because we're using a boost, kind of makes me just want to get their baselines and kind of not really overcomplicate things, but at the same time, might not be that simple.
What about? I like this. I think it's interesting. What about Pickens to have a 30+ yard reception plus 185?
Absolutely interested. I know Pickens is that deep ball threat. We know Dallas is going to at least try to take some chances on the outside, though.
Devontae's 260. I mean, I think that's. I mean, these are the guys that could definitely get out there. I mean, Devontae. I mean, if we're sticking with Dallas. I mean, if they're going to win, these are the kind of things that would have to happen. Although obviously it's not 100% correlated, but Devontae Smith even more so plus 260. But George Pickens is probably going to get a couple shots down the field, and he can do something with the ball once he gets it. So I think plus 185 for a 30+ yard reception. I mean, it's not a terrible leg in there. You figure Pickens is going to have to make a big play or two in order to turn this game into their favor.
So I don't disagree. We have ESPN actually dropping a plus 210 there if you're looking for that straight. But my same thoughts actually exist for Devonta Smith. I know we're on Sweeney Tutty, but that's in a different light here. Minus 112 at FanDuel, which is still EV to the market, though ESPN having the best odds. It's minus 150 on the 19.5 for longest reception, which is obviously longest reception is different than to record a 20-yard reception. Those are different bets here. I just want to confirm with FanDuel what we can do. It's SGPable. What are your thoughts on Smitty over longest reception here?
over 20, like the player to have the longest reception or his longest reception over 20.5 yards?
His longest reception over 20.5 yards.
I think it's good. I mean, Devontae Smith's a playmaker, man. It's definitely at some point, I think they're going to take a couple shots to him tonight. Dallas's defense, their secondary is nothing that scares me. And, we've seen the Eagles plenty of times be able to take that shot to Devontae Smith. I think 20.5 to the over is it's a solid play. I think this is a good matchup to do it. Now, obviously, what the weather looks like is a completely different story at points throughout the game. But, I mean, listen, it's week one, it's opening night. Want to have a little bit of fun with it. And we're taking guys that can make plays, and that's exactly who Devontae Smith is.
Absolutely. Said it really well there. We're not going to be finding massive EV 20 minutes before game time on the night of the first NFL game that's been live. But Johnny, I'm going to put that 50% boost on there. Again, we're talking $10 is going to be my max bet there from FanDuel, unfortunately. But just for the chat, if you guys want to do right along with this fun one, we're going to go with Dak Prescott, 2+ passing tutties, Saquon over 13.5 receiving yards, Pickens 30+ yard reception, Devonta Smith longest reception over 20.5. With the boost, it brings to plus 1867.
Are you bringing Dallas plus 8.5 in there?
Let's see what it does to the lay here / what the odds are at FanDuel, because I'm not opposed. Yeah, that brings it to plus 25.94. Again, it's opening night. This is for the sweat. We build a ton of sharp parlays on stream. Don't get me wrong, boys, but this one is definitely more for the good vibes, the good banter, and for the fun of the NFL being back. And it wouldn't hurt to cash a slip there. So I locked it in. Cowboys plus 8.5. Smitty longest reception over 20.5. Pickens 30+ yard reception. Barkley over 13.5, and Dak 1.5 passing tutties. We do have a no sweat, Johnny. Any thoughts on getting some craziness on this going as well? Because I know the game starts. We want to get you guys to, of course, watch your game. But I think I'm open to putting some like crazy like first touchdown, last touchdown kind of nonsense in for this no sweat, just to make today fun. And if we can find the best odds with Pick the Odds, of course we'll do that. If you guys aren't using Pick the Odds, free trial, you can use the odds screen, all the functionality for free at picktheodds.app. Highly recommend though, because I'm gonna go through just some ARBs and see what's live. Like once the game starts, just for everybody's knowledge, and I'm watching the game, I'm sitting here, game on one screen. I'm using this live ARB screen to make sure I find any live arbitrage, as well as some live expected value from Pick the Odds with my EV. Though again, we're so close to game time, not expecting to find a ton of EV. But John, let's cook one more fun one. No sweat. Let's call it a day. We can reuse some guys that we like. We already know who we're in on. Talk to me. Do you want to get a little bit crazy here?
All right, I got an idea. All right, Dallas Cowboys first drive to score a TD. So it's not necessarily first touchdown, but if you like Pickens there, I mean that's FanDuel. I didn't check anywhere else. Yeah. George Pickens plus 2,500. This is Dallas's first drive, and they score a TD. And who scores a TD? So obviously a lot has to happen there, but you're getting freaky. Or you could take Pickens plus 1,900 just to score the first TD, which doesn't necessarily mean that Dallas has to score a touchdown on their first drive. But I think, listen, the touchdowns are always fun. The last TD is something that I'd prefer to live bet, kind of see what the game flow looks like.
Absolutely.
Have a little bit more information, probably get better odds. But, I mean, listen, guys like Barkley and Hurts just anytime. I mean, yeah, listen, they're probably going to get in. But am I laying Barkley like 200 to get in the end zone? No. Jalen Hurts pushing 160? Probably not. I got to say, though, I don't hate Jalen Hurts plus 460 for the first touchdown.
Absolutely. Let's look at some odds. And like right before we were talking about Pickens, I bet it at 749 on stream. So, a little 50 minutes ago, that went down to 17-1. So it's not like a flex, but just again, finding the best number is always good. And I'm curious if they did move Mr. Sanders nice to 50-1. But like again, the reason why a tool like Pick the Odds is so important to utilize, because if you're betting seriously, of course, it speaks for itself. But if you're betting for fun, even like Johnny mentioned, if you want to get crazy and Dallas first drive to score a touchdown, Miles Sanders is 50-1 on that. But to score the first touchdown, regardless of first drive on DraftKings, it's 50-1. So shop your odds, boys, and Pick the Odds will do all of that for you. This NFL and CFB and NBA and MLB and literally every sport. We can go through the freaking list right here. The boys got everything. But no, I'm down to put together something predicated on a Hurts first tutty because again, we're using a no sweat, so not losing any sleep on make it a little bit more fun here. Jalen Hurts first tutty.
Which by the way, he's got better odds to score 2 touchdowns than he does the first touchdown. Like he's 370 on DraftKings to score 2 touchdowns, and he's 475 to score first.
Let's pull it up because I'm very curious what the rest of the market is looking like there. Let's find our good friend, Mr. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter first touchdown, boys. Even at 80 to 1, like don't bet that, boys, please. So much we have to go right for that. Jalen Hurts. 370 DK 400 at ESPN, but yeah, no, that's absolutely crazy. But Jalen Hurts plus 460 first tutty. Listen, I'm down, Johnny, for the quarterback parlay. I talked myself, and you definitely helped talk me into, a Dak passing game, and for the purposes of this lay, I kind of am intrigued by Dak Prescott 3+ tutties along with this Jalen Hurts tutty. That's went up to 4-1, and just like that, those 2 legs, Dak 3+ touchdowns and Jalen Hurts first touchdown score, is plus 28.98. So, like, of course, that's a lot to go right. You can die.
Is it me though, or I don't know if it's this year? Maybe my memory's a little hazy, but is it me or have these odds gotten worse? Like the parlay odds, are they cheating on the parlay odds? Because it feels like for all this to happen and for these numbers, the odds aren't that big. And I haven't done the math. This is just off first glance. For something like this, it's pretty good. Something like Jalen Hurts first touchdown, Devontae to score, Pickens to score. That's 85 to 1 on DK. That's nice. But some of these other things, I don't know. And that might be me.
No, it's definitely not you. Think about the first parlay we placed. That was 25 to 1 on DK with a very reasonable parlay. Obviously, take that word with a grain of salt. But the Devonta Smith touchdown, Turpin 25 rec yards, Barkley 25 rec yards. That was 25 to 1 on DK and 15 to 1 on FanDuel. So, no, you're absolutely not tripping.
Like Devontae Smith and Pickens parlay anytime tutty on DK, both are north of 2 to 1. It's only 9 to 1. That seems light, and I didn't do the math on what the calculations are, but I feel like these books are starting to cheat you on the parlay odds. But most people, and I'm not one of these people that are like a math genius. Like I'm not Will Hunting, for Christ's sakes, but they kind of bury it and they don't give you what the true numbers should be. And I could be completely wrong. This is just off face value of me looking at it for half a second.
I think you're probably onto something. We all know that the books take a correlation tax that's been in place for a hot minute here. TBT to the good old days where you could correlate things on different books and just cash out and get tons of expected value. But I don't think you're crazy at all. While you were talking though, I am just needing to pump the brakes a little bit because of course the weather is expected to be what it is in the second half. So adding a Dak 3+ tutties, even though it is kind of for the fun, no sweat situation there is realistically probably a bad bet. I watched the odds shoot up in the bet slip as well, definitely pricing that in. So glad we didn't I didn't let the fun aspect take over, because yes, it's no sweat. Yes, I'm not losing sleep over losing, or no sweat that I get back the entire $10. I fortunately can bet that I can actually use on something with Evie just to recoup tomorrow or even live. Actually, I guess it won't be live because I won't get that credit back, but you guys know what I mean. So we still do have a little bit of digging to do.
Two things. Number one, listen, the parlays are fun, but just take it for what it's worth. This is the kind of vibe. It's the first night back for the NFL. It's a kickoff. It's Thursday night. You want to have a little action, little fun. Throw some dumb shit in that's probably not going to win. Fine, but don't be trying to make these parlays happen all year. It's
No,
not
yeah.
gonna result in you being a successful better long term. And I get it, man. Like I love a good tutty parlay as much as anybody else. I love like these dumb shit 6-leg parlays on a Thursday night, that sort of thing. But in my opinion, like I could honestly, in some capacity, see this be a lower scoring game because everybody expects it to be a higher scoring game, and it's a game that doesn't even end up cracking like 40 points because that's just how it goes. So for me, honestly, I think my best bet would be Dallas plus 8.5. I'll take the points if they get smoked and Philly just comes out, steamrolls them, looking to defend that that Super Bowl championship. Night one, so be it. But I just think Dallas 8.5, like that's the play. If you want to throw a touchdown bet in with like Pickens or Devontae Smith because they're north of 2-1 and they at least one of them has a good shot, knock yourself out. But like cooking up the parlays, like we said, this is kind of limited to that sort of thing.
No, very well said. Of course, like you can pick the odds for betting on like a Wednesday at openers. You could definitely build yourself, with 2 or 3 leg plus EV parlay when numbers are still relevant. They're still like bettable and beatable. But like, yeah, no, like this is again for the fun and for the vibes. But Johnny, I agree with you that this game, realistically, the total 47.5 could absolutely be like such. Like I could see this game, the possibility of this game being 17 to 13, realistically,
Yeah,
type of
100%.
situation. Not like weather wise, just like football bullshit wise.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing. Like everybody's like, yeah, let's take the over. This game gets to 60. Like even weather wise, I could see this being an under. I mean, it was a 48.5 ounce down to 47. I think I've seen it like 46.5 up to 47.5 up to 48.5, and then we're seeing 47.5s, which obviously is a key number. But we're seeing those kind of teeter in a push pull market. But side note here, just saw something from a little while ago. 49ers listing Christian McCaffrey is limited in today's practice due to a calf injury. Already starting with it. I avoided him in all my leagues.
I avoided him as well.
I had a choice between Lamb and McCaffrey last night. Went Lamb.
For what overall pick?
6.
I took Lamb at 5 in one of my leagues, so no debates for me there.
You took Lamb over Jettas?
I did, yeah.
I did too. I'm like, I was really thinking, I think Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in the league, but I think Dallas with the passing attack this year. And listen, I know the Sam Darnold thing, didn't go bad like most people thought, and Jefferson still ate, but I don't know. I think they're both going to be great again, like put up big numbers, but I felt like Lamb could be a little bit more consistent with a very pass-heavy offense. So I went Lamb as well. So hoping for a nice night from Mr. CD Lamb Chop.
As am I. I have Mr. Lamb as well, but let's someone I haven't really talked about at all. Jake Ferguson. 38.5 minus 113. Of course, circa hang on the 110s locked. Interested in some unders like we talked about. Like that could just definitely be the angle. Receiving yards under. The thing is, like, then I'm looking. I know, like, again, how good the secondary was in Dallas. I mean, should have been in Philly, but like, of course, they have some turnover with their safety unit. Not really their cornerbacks. They have no more big play Slay. I think they lost Isaiah Rodgers, but they still, of course, have Quignon and Cooper DeJean repping for the boys. 55.5 just seems so low for Pickens. I know now with like the weather and like I'm out of luck, and we're betting a no sweat for fun. So I'm not, again, this isn't like serious handicapping. Like we're trying to act as if we're finding the most valuable bets out on the market right now. But 55.5, man, like that's so low.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Let's see Ferguson. What's Ferguson? 38.5. I'll be on the under there. Philly was great against tight ends. I know there was some turnover, like you just said, from last year, but
I think the turnover is beneficial for a Pickens over, but a
Ferguson. I I like the under there. I like the under for Ferguson. I think I probably won't official. It's not like official play,
Yeah,
but kind of looking at it, 38.5. I think that seems a tad high. He's not really an explosive kind of guy. I mean, he'll break off a 20-yard catch here and there, but I think that's more of like a security blanket, grab a third down, maybe pick up a 5-yard gain. I don't see Jake Ferguson having a big one here tonight. I mean, he only broke 40 yards last year. I know there was, some health as well, especially with Prescott, but he only broke 40 yards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times last year, which I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not a guy that he's not a big play guy. He's a possession tight end, like sort of throwback.
absolutely. So definitely down to include this under here, but again, no sweat. So would love for it to be a little bit more juicy, but FanDuel doing FanDuel things, unlike DraftKings, where at least we'll take some unders at times on receiving yards, where you know, FanDuel, you can't do like an alt under or anything like that. Because why would you? Why would you be able to take a good bet on FanDuel if you're going to get a little bit fun? Of course, you can find some EV here, but you guys know what I mean. Ferguson under. It's just like at this point we've kind of gone through the whole thing. I know so we kind of do want to get a little bit like crazy, but it's like at this point it's just like have we like hit our cap here? First touchdown just all locked on FanDuel. Curiously enough, though the game is starting in 3 minutes, unless something is slowing us up here. But John, do we just do Ferguson under, Smitty 2+, call it a day?
Yeah, maybe. I think so. I think I might do something simple like that.
Smitty 2+ for no sweat.
I like Smith this year, man, and I think this is a good matchup for him. I do. I think Devontae Smith against the Dallas secondary that I have questions about. That's a pretty solid bet. And listen, it seems like Philadelphia does this every year. Like one game it's going to be Arthur, the other game it's going to be Devontae. You never know which one you're going to get, but I like Devontae.
I'm all for it. No sweat, locked in. Devonta Smith, 2+ tutties. Jake Ferguson under 3.5 receiving yards, plus 22.90 over at FanDuel. Again, everyone in chat knows we're doing this because it's fun and we're going to find some EV. All football season long with Pick the Odds. Very happy to have them back as a partner for this NFL season. Really the best, like all encompassing tool from EV, arbitrage, real-time odds, line shopping, bet tracking still in beta. Can't wait for that to be live, but all these amazing functionalities. You can access it for free. Picktheodds.app. But Johnny, appreciate you coming on. I want you to hop on as much as you possibly can this NFL season. But boys, I am be streaming at least 5x a week, potentially 6x, potentially 7x for the boys. It depends how crazy we get. So make sure if you aren't following on Twitter at GoBetsMore, hit that follow button. On Twitch, hit that follow, and on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. It's huge. If you're watching on X, but you're a YouTube viewer normally, or you watch on YouTube videos, hit up GoBetsMore. We've dropped a bunch of great content on our YouTube channel over the last 3 or so weeks. We're ramping it up big time. And I'll be back tomorrow at like noon. This is my projected stream schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Friday noon. Saturday TBD, Sunday 10:15 with Pick the Odds. I'll figure out Tuesday and Saturday to see what that's going to look like, but at least doing it 6 times a week, maybe 5. But Johnny, any parting words for the boys? And again, thank you so much for hopping on.
Absolutely. Find me on RotoWire and Twitter @JohnnyVTV. Just launched last night. Sorry, it's a little bit late, but I launched my VIP service for the year. $200 for the entire season, covers absolutely everything: game, sides, totals, money lines, player props, teasers if I decide to lay the stupid number, which I probably won't, futures, fantasy football start sits, access to the Discord for the low price of $200 regular and postseason for 2025.
Johnny VTV boys, also college baseball expert as well, though you're going to have to wait a couple months for that to come up. But again, those odds will definitely be on PTO, so we'll be shopping that and talking that shop later. But let's kick off the NFL the right way, boys. Let's hit a fun parlay. We'll find out for the real season starting as soon as tomorrow. We're looking at the rest of the props, rest of the games, etc. But for now, we'll focus on the main thing. So shout out to everybody for coming in. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and best of luck with your bets tonight.